Okiru.
Hello, Mr. Richard Okello once again. What's going on, bro?
Howdy, what's going on, my man?
Hey, man, it's a good day. It's a good day. It's every day we get to wake up is a good day. It's just gotta be blessed with the small things, count your blessings, and always stay grateful, right?
Gotta be grateful for life, my man.
Exactly. So, you wanted to have this podcast, bro. So what have you got for us? What have you got to share?
It's kind of funny. I had some thoughts, I had some reflections throughout the past few years, I would say. I can't just say days, And how often have you thought that emotions actually play a big part in your everyday life?
I think they really do. They really do play a big part. Look, just going on my run today, I didn't do my usual 7K run because it was a bit rainy, and I know the part that I usually go on is going to be flooded with water. I'm not gonna run through that. Right?
For sure.
I'm not that crazy. And today, I think my mind was a lot clearer, and I had more clarity with my emotions, and I was able to have a clearer mindset, clearer goal of what I wanted to achieve. Now, compared to that on the weekend, I didn't have a great weekend, right? I had a lot of things happen. I kind of broke down, and I was filled with a lot of emotions, a lot of it.
Right.
Overwhelmed with it. Like I did a whole bunch of different emotions, right? And on the Saturday, I had to go for the run because I have to complete this challenge. I have to keep making that progress every day, or else I'm going to fall behind. And I struggled. I couldn't do it. I couldn't run. It was hard because of that. All the emotions I had felt like it was physically weighing me down, right? It felt like there was this iron thing on my chest and in my gut that was just saying, you're not going to do this. It was, you can't do anything right now. And I listened to it. And then the next day, it was even harder because I did my 7Ks, but the first 2 to 3 kilometers, I ran that straight. But it was so hard. It was so difficult because I was still fighting those emotions.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
At that point, I told myself, all right, look, honestly, you are not in a good mindset. You're emotionally charged. You have all these things in you. Have you actually gone and reflected and talked to yourself about what's going on? And at that point, I told myself, all right, look, I'll complete these 7Ks. I'm not going to run. I'm going to walk this. But on this walk, my purpose and intention is to find some answers and ask myself why I'm feeling this way. Why are you feeling these certain emotions? Why I gave myself a chance to acknowledge it fully, right? To actually speak with myself and ask myself and find in me why I felt those certain emotions. Because how often do we do that? Sometimes we let those emotions control us. We let those emotions to control the way we live. And sometimes those emotions aren't, it's like that saying, right? Emotions are great indicators, but terrible dictators.
That's correct.
If we continue living our life in a way that we're always acting upon our emotions, we're going to eventually find ourselves in regret at some point, right?
That's right.
So I think that's why emotions play a huge part in life. And you see it in our environments, how sometimes those people, I guess they kind of dismiss and ignore those emotions and allow those things to control them, as opposed to saying, I want to feel this way because blah, 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 right? I hope that answers the question.
That's right. No, that was really good. I like your explanation. And it's great that you actually got deep into it. But can I just add something to one part? You said you have to go for your run. But have you actually looked at it as you have to, or that you get to?
I get to.
That's right. That's
a good, it's that verbiage too. I think this challenge has been one of the hardest challenges I've ever done yet, physically and mentally. I think mentally it's been so tough, man. But it's like what we said, right? It's sometimes you in order to be strong and to see to build that strength, you got to go through those sufferings. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, like that's the other thing. It's what I say. Like today, I went for my run. I did just under 5Ks. I ran that pretty much straight, and I kind of changed the way I was talking to myself. I was like affirming myself. I was saying to myself, I am strong. I am safe. I'm this. I'm that. You know, as opposed to saying, oh, I'll make it here and then I'll rest. I'll make it here and I can start walking. Those were words for failure already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I started saying those things, I'm strong, I'm safe, I am guided, I have courage, blah, 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 whatever it was, it allowed me to push till the end, right?
Yeah.
So definitely words is a big part.
Correct, yeah. Well, actually, if you don't mind me, I actually kind of broke it down. And
right.
I don't expect you to agree with me, but this is just from what I've noticed as well. So there are 5 stages to emotions, right? The first one will be mood. Second will be temperament. Third one will be personality. Fourth one will be disposition. And the fifth one is creativity. All those can never happen with emotions. But until you can actually control your emotions, then will they actually align with where it is that you're trying to go? So the first one, I'll probably just, elaborate a little on mood. So it's pretty much just a temporary state of mind, right? And pretty much being angry or irritated or having a feeling is you being in that mood, right? So when you're being angry, what does that really mean? You chose to be, right? You chose to be angry. Either somebody said, oh, Jasper, I don't like the way your hair is looking today. Right there, that could be a trigger for you. Because you probably judge yourself before that morning that, oh, my hair doesn't look as great. Because someone else noticed it too. Bang, you can react on that. And because that gets you so irritated, you can misbehave. Okay, temperament. It's just the behavior, right? And how I look at temperament is a choice again.
Right.
Emotions, you have a choice. Either you let it control you or you take the charge and say, nah, I'm in the driver's seat. I'm going to go home today,
Yeah.
And
I was a question. How can we help people understand that we have a choice with our emotions? Because I feel like oftentimes people don't fully grasp that idea, right? So it's like that idea how I think we heard this in an audio, right? It's when people spit on us, it doesn't make us mad, it makes us wet. And to me, that's a very truthful statement, right? When people do spit on us, it doesn't make us mad, it makes us wet. It's that choice for us to be angry. So how can we help people understand that these are choices, but I guess those people who do those actions that allow us to react in a certain way, how can they be accountable for what they've done?
Well, you got to look at it from your point of view. That's out of your control.
Right.
Why did they spit on you? Shouldn't even come into your mind unless you did something to obviously provoke them, right? And that also would come down to an agreement. You have to agree with yourself that, okay, you were in the wrong for them to spit at you. But if you weren't, you still have to come to agreement with yourself and comfort yourself in the sense why. Because if you go out of your own way and react, now you're going to cause conflict.
Of course.
That person is trying to cause something. But if you don't react and you respond, doesn't that kind of just, align with the agreement with yourself? Meaning you're a peaceful person. You're a person who actually loves to encourage people. You're a person who's always positive. And that doesn't come easy. No way does it come easy. But if someone spits on you, the way you should look at it is, what have I done?
Okay.
What can I do? And how can I help this person not do this again to somebody else? Because how you responded, another person could respond differently, right?
Right.
But we shouldn't compare ourselves to everybody else.
Of course.
And that's the key to it. You have to find the fulfillment inside, or not so much fulfillment. You got to find that peace within you to say, okay, this person spat on me because I probably did something to make them, spit on me. You played a part in allowing them to spit on you, right?
Okay.
And it's just a spit. Yeah, like, there's germs and there's all this, but at the end of the day, you can just wipe it up and just be like, you know what? It's all right. It's all right. How can I help this person?
It's kind of like, am I going to let this events control the way I act the rest of the day type of thing,
Correct.
It's like, it's oftentimes when one thing leads to another and it starts to compound, like we allow those things to overcome how we feel for the day, and then eventually that day is just going to be destruction, right?
That's right. Yeah. Wow. That's right. Behavior. You get a choice to behave differently.
Yeah. So before we continue on with that list you're going on, you mentioned that for someone to act in the way, it's kind of in alignment with who they are, right? So what if that person didn't know who they were and who they are, and the only thing they can do is react in a way that's, I guess, violent or to defend themselves?
I believe we all come to a defensive mode at some point in our life. And I would say it's every single day of our life, right? It could be an argument that somebody else is trying to, inflict into us. But with us knowing that this can turn out to be an argument, how can you control that moment?
Right.
Will you allow that person to keep belittling you? Will you even step in to say, hey, look, I disagree with what you're saying? Or will you just let that person know that maybe this isn't what we should be talking about, or maybe this is something that we need to step back from, because look at where it's taken us. How far do you think this will take us? Right. It's just coming to an agreement with yourself and who you are as a person. Yes, that's true.
Of course.
You will never know how somebody else, who somebody is. Not what somebody is, but you never know who somebody is. Right. Because at times we could be going through issues at home, right? And not that we don't want to harm our family members, but because there's been so many levels of, disagreement with our family. There's been so many levels of abuse from our families that we take this anger out on other people. Right. I think what we should do there is kind of step back and look inside of us. Our family is saying this about us. Our family is calling us this. Our family is saying that. What are we doing to make them say that about us? True. What are we doing to make that stand out for them, that we are what they think I am, right? Because that's all that it comes to. That's all it comes to. Right. If you're a violent person, it would have been something you picked up either from your mom or your dad. If you're a nice person, that's something you would have picked up from your mom or dad. But let's not also forget about the peers, right? You got your friends. You got your extended associations, right? Right. All these can come down to one. How you choose to behave is going to come back to who you picked up that behavior from. You can create one or you can pick one up.
Right. Okay. I like that. Well, let's continue on with that list that you had.
All right. So temperament was just pretty much behavior. And, many times, I think we just discussed it. These are pretty much lead us from your childhood. Third one would be personality. So how I look at personality is just a combination of everything you've learned throughout the years. You actually get to pick which one you like the most. You could be like, oh yeah, I like to be happy all the time because the people I'm surrounded by are always happy. Or I like to be violent all the time because my friends are always holding my head. You're like, always scratching me. We always shove each other around. You like that type of feeling, right? And because you like it so much, that will turn you into a violent person. After a while, you don't realize it, but it's true. It will turn you into a violent person. Or because you just love people. It's different from being happy. You just love people. And the fact that you love people, you can actually force yourself onto other people to also feel the same loving that you have within you. They'll start loving themselves, and then that can, create a little bond between everybody that you meet. People would see it this guy, I like this guy, it's this and that, that. But yeah, so pretty much, it's just personalities that are all combined into one, and you get to pick which one really suits you the best. Right. Disposition. Oh, wow. This one, I'll put it in, the way I put this is just your own understanding. Just your own understanding. What you can put in place that will work best for you.
Right.
And I can't elaborate a little more on that, but how you really handle yourself is how you'll be able to handle other people. Because like they say, you don't like it when someone treats you bad, right? So you want to make sure that you treat them with care, with kindness and care, so they can treat you back the same way.
Right.
You want to be treated the same way, right? And then creativity. This one's kind of funny. I like this one, but it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. With everything that you do, creativity comes down to the last one. And the reason why I put it as last is because you put your imagination into it.
Right.
But it doesn't just come with imagination. You first have a feeling, right? And that feeling gets into this like creative mode. It's like, oh yeah. Like, hey, I don't mean to brag, but Mr. Jasper over here, Mr. Gerald, look at what they've got done, You guys have something so attracting to you guys. Like you guys just feel so loved with it. And you ended up expressing it to the world. And now Okiru actually exists because of you and Gerald. And you know what that is? Right. You guys felt the love for it and you knew the reasons why you guys are doing this. And those are the 5 levels of, emotions that I've picked up. And I really just had to. Yeah, I just feel like I needed to share that. And
I do like that. Is there a few? Can you repeat the 5 levels again?
So the 5 levels would be, first one would be emotion. Second one would be temperament. Third one would be personality. Fourth would be disposition
and creativity.
And the fifth one is
Right. So how did you come about to find these 5 stages?
Well, it comes down to, just having these excitement inside of you. And with excitement can come many things at times, right?
Right.
Okay. I started looking at it as when you're happy, you shouldn't promise somebody you'll do something. Because when you're sad or when you're mad, can you really keep that promise that you made to that somebody?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah.
That's why acting out of emotions is a very hard one. And I think it's something we don't really realize and aren't self-aware until something happens and we face the consequences of those words not coming into fruition. Right?
No wonder.
So it's really having that impeccable word in ourselves, right? And that's the hard part, having that impeccable word, because once you go on this emotional roller coaster, can I really keep my word, right? It's kind of like with this challenge. I'm always going to go back to this challenge right now because it's the closest thing.
I appreciate that.
It's the closest thing. So initially that first week, going to the challenge, I was like, all right, let's go. 7Ks, easy. And I was like, all right, if I do 7Ks for the next few days, I'll be ahead, blah, blah. And I didn't realize, because I don't run long, for me, that's a long distance, right? For others, this might be, that's warm up, man, whatever. For me, that's a long distance. And to do that consistently for 20 or so days, I became to regret doing this challenge. And I really wanted to give up. I was like, man, I've done 40Ks. This is the most you've ever done in a week or so. You're proud of yourself already, right? And that's a good achievement in itself. But
that's right.
I had the emotions of giving up because I was so tired physically, mentally, just everything drained. And it's exactly that. I went into this challenge with emotions, and that's why I purposely put such a high number, because I wanted to suffer, right? I wanted to put myself in suffering. Yeah. So, it's kind of like at that point I had to remind myself, oh man, Richard, you're good, dog. I think we disconnected, but I'll continue speaking. At that point, I had to remind myself why I did this challenge and who were those people I was doing this for, right? You back, dog? Everything good? Sorry, dog. I think you're on mute, dog.
I have no idea what just happened, but that was crazy glitch.
Nah, that's all good. I just have to keep talking. All good.
Yeah,
all good.
I heard everything you said.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I wasn't too sure, but I just, I'll keep going. yeah, I had to remind myself, who am I doing this for? Why did I do this in the first place? And I told myself I want to get physically fitter. I want to increase my capacity as a person. And for those people who donated that, I'm doing it for them as well. And for the people that this money is going to go to, right? And I can't fail because of how I'm feeling. I set this goal. I have to stay committed to that regardless, right? I can't have this mentality of just giving up. Like I'm listening to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins again. And bro, it's just a slap in the face. He pretty much says like when you're feeling tired and you don't want to do that set, are you gonna give up? Blah blah blah. Like when I miss one rep of one set, I'd go back and reset and do the whole set again. And
man,
it's crazy that people have that capacity to do that. And that's why for me, I'm not gonna give up. I'll see this through, right? I'll finish this till the end, and it's gonna be hard. I'm almost done. I'm like 30Ks out, so it's not too far to go. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. So that's why we have to put the words, the goal ahead of us, but remember that the action is still necessary to continue to achieve it. And you can't let emotions to stop us. Like what you're doing with business, what I'm doing with business. We're on our own entrepreneur roller coaster. So we just have to keep going until the end. Or we're just going to jump off that roller coaster while it's still going,
Wow. Wow. That was like a heartbeat right there, man. Like a skip in a heartbeat. But it's so true, isn't it?
Mm.
You can't stop speeding train.
Exactly.
And it's like, it amazes me though, isn't it?
Mm.
But when you really do think about it, the emotions that you actually have now, that, you went from a child to a teenager, now to a young adult who's really found himself. How would you actually describe yourself from the past to now?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, man. I was about to ask you the same thing. Funny enough. Wow, the podcast host is being asked questions. Okay, I see. Yeah. I see you, bro. I see you. But yeah, I'll happily answer that. I think this whole journey of, I can't really say from when I was a child because that's quite far back. I think I had the most growth in the past, let's just say the past 5 years. If I look back 5 years before, life was completely different. Let's say this. I was pretty much a bum. I had no purpose in life. I had no direction. I was just playing, video games all day, failing uni, failing everything. And just, I don't know if you've seen, what's that movie? The Big Lebowski, pretty much just living life like he does, right? And it was sad. It was sad. And then it eventually got to a point where I was trying to pursue freelance as a designer. That didn't work out. And then eventually I had to put that dream on hold and start working wherever I could find, right? Just to earn money. And luckily enough, with Gerald, we were able to find some common interest and create this thing. Now, in terms of the emotional, I think let's just say that at that time I was very depressed, very self-loathing. Just think of everything you could think of in being in that dark hole. Nothing good for life, and then you have these little achievements that make you feel good and make you feel like you're the biggest thing out, but they're just those are fleeting moments. And then once you come to a lot more struggles and find a purpose, I think it accelerated growth because it gave me a reason to live again. So obviously at that point I had to change my mindset, how I was emotionally, because you're getting into business. You can't have, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed, I'm a business owner, blah blah blah. You have to have enthusiasm in what you're doing and that confidence that what you're trying to achieve, you're going to be successful no matter what, right? No matter what. So obviously that takes time to build the emotional capacity to become who I need to be. I would say the past year has been the most growth I've ever had, because being introduced to a group of people who are pursuing something incredible, and being associated with those people who are vision oriented, who have a dream of something more to life and have this goal of helping people. I think that made me realize there's more to life. And the fact that they're doing whatever they can to ensure that their journey is guided with the right people, the right mindset, so that we can achieve our goals. And to have, I think I'm sorry if I'm going in circles or whatever, but
this is perfect.
I think that the emotional journey, it allowed me to become a lot stronger with all the struggles that happened, right? That's why one thing I'm always grateful for is the struggles. And as I mentioned before, is I pray for a stronger back, not an easier life, because when you have a stronger back, whatever happens, you allow those struggles when they come, you already know, you kind of know what to do, or this is familiar territory. Like, it's not gonna, I guess, hold you back. It won't stop you. It's like training at the gym, right? It's like what I said with I really love this article, right? I'll find it, because I think it makes so much sense. And I think a lot of people need to hear this, especially if you're a gym goer. So this is from an article, I think it's called Iron and the Soul. When the iron doesn't want to come off the mat, it's the kindest thing it can do for you. If it flew up and went through the ceiling, it wouldn't teach you anything. That's the way the iron talks to you. It tells you that the material you work with is that which you will come to resemble. That which you work against will always work against you. So if we always hoping for easier times in those struggles, we're not going to get stronger at all. We're not going to learn anything from it. So I think that's why when those struggles come, and sometimes they can be super hard, we can't do it ourselves. We have to find people who are willing to help us. We have to find that support group, those people who, it's like when you're at the gym, right? You have those people cheering you on, those trainers and coaches who help you lift that weight eventually, right? Because it's going to be a struggle. And that's the same with any situation in life. If you don't have those coaches, those mentors, those supportive friends, family, whatever, those struggles are going to be so much harder to lift. And maybe eventually you will lift it, but it could have been much, I wouldn't say easier, but the struggle wouldn't have been as hard if you had those people around you, right?
That's right.
But yeah, I guess I don't have to answer your question again, man. But yeah, I think emotionally, because of the struggles, I am better off. That's in long story short.
Man. You've actually just unpacked a lot of facts that people really need to hear.
Hopefully.
It's so true as well. Because when you really think about it, what you said, you felt like, you weren't all there. You felt like you were, I don't want to say the word that you used. I remember at one point we were having a conversation, and you did mention that, probably 2 years before I met you, you were pretty quiet.
Yeah.
You were a really quiet guy. And, compared to then to now, you would say you'd rather be who you are now than you were then. But
of course,
did you know, if you weren't who you were then, you wouldn't be who you are now?
Exactly right. Exactly
and
right.
Your emotions led to who you are now. So it's very true. And how I like to look at from the past to now is, you've heard of the kineastic. I hope I'm not pronouncing this wrong, but the kineastic. So it's like a strategy that you can actually learn over time.
Right.
And there are 5 senses to it, or there's I think 4 senses to it. I hope I wrote it down here somewhere. I'll just look for it. So it goes from, I think 3 or 4. So it goes from the audio, what you hear, And it goes from touch, like the feelings that you've had once before. It goes from smell, and it goes from sight.
Right.
So I think there's one more, but I just can't remember it. So from touch, you would have, like, let's per se, you like jelly, so you touch jelly at one point. That stayed inside of you. That turned into an emotion. The next time you touch jelly, you hope it's the same feeling as the one you had from the past.
This seems familiar. I think I've heard of this before. Yeah.
With the smell as well. Let's per se, your mom was cooking your favorite dish, and then you go to your friend's house and you smell the same type of dish, and it turns out different to what your mom makes, but because it smells, like the aroma is the same as the one you have at home. You will dig in, and it's still going to be the same feeling for you because you've had that feeling once. So that was And then let's say, for instance, you see like a view from out of the window, like you're going, drive in the train or something, and you see this beautiful view, and you're like, oh wow, I like that view, and you never know if you will see that view ever again. And one day, or let's say the next day, you and your friend will be driving past, and boom, it's the same view again. Like, wow, it's the same feeling that you get again from when you first had it, right? So feelings lead up later down the track to you experiencing it before. That's why now that you experience it, you're familiar with it. Right. And being familiar with it puts you in that comfort. It's like, okay, look, I can be confident in this area because I know I've been there before. How can I do better than I did before? Because maybe before you were a little hesitant on what you can do.
Of course.
You didn't know who you truly were or who you wanted to be. But now that you know, those feelings or those emotions or those things that you had then didn't define who you were then, but it just got you closer to who you are now.
Of course.
And having those feelings, having what we just discussed so far, do you think that everything that you're going through now was just a leader from the past to now?
Of course. It's like this other thing I heard from another audio or one of the conferences that we've been to is we go what we go through to learn what we need to become who we need to become or want to become. Right?
That's a great quote.
Yeah. So
that's a great quote.
We have to go through those things. We have to go through the struggles. We have to go through the highs, the lows, everything in between in order to be who we are today and in order to be the person we want to become. Right. So, we can't be a victim to the situations of the whatever happens. Obviously, I might be a bit, someone might say, "Oh, what do you mean you can't be the victim?" All right, I get you. There's certain situations where it can. I'm just saying that we can't allow those things to take power over us, right? We have to have that fight within us to keep going to. It's like we can't give up on the person who we're about to become, right? We're always reminded that. And it's a shame. Sometimes we do feel like giving up. There was many times I wanted to give up, man. Like recently I wanted to give up because it gets so hard. Sometimes you break down, but in order to have breakthroughs, you got to have breakdowns. So that's how we increase capacity. That's how we increase it. We challenge ourselves. We challenge the status quo. We challenge the situation of where we are. Right.
I think having to be challenged just makes you stronger, isn't it?
Definitely. So what about you? How has your past emotionally, where you are now?
I would say, wow. Oh, you just put me on the spot. Okay. So I would say I've always been the type who, if people are giving me advice or telling me things, sometimes I'll let it come in this ear and let it out the other ear.
Right.
But a lot of the times it would stay inside of me. But I would think that it just left me. And a lot of the times, when I say a lot of the times, it was just criticism, right? And because of those criticisms, and I just stayed quiet. I knew what I had to say. I wanted to say them, but having the respect for the people who were telling me those things, I just kept them to myself. Over time, those were destroying me. And those were just my own emotions because I never let it out. I was actually talking to myself and I was just like, you mentioned it, putting yourself in that hole where you're digging yourself. So the fact that you're digging in yourself, did you know you can also try find a way to climb back up?
Of course.
And because I never spoke about it, or I never let my emotions, and I never spoke to those people directly when they were telling me those things. I never really had the courage and strength to be who I wanted to be. And that kind of disrupted my, my thought process, who I wanted to become in the future.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I wanted to do. Every time I speak to people, I had the fear of, they might say the same thing that person said to me a while back. And because it played with my emotions a lot, I allowed my emotions to pretty much dictate what I do, how I did it, how I look at things, pretty much everything aligned with my emotions. If you say, let's go to, per se, to the park, I would say, the last time I was at the park, a little kid was breathing at me, a little kid looked at me funny. See, because of that, I know it's silly, but because of that, it just built like a little restraint with me having to go to the park with you feeling comfortable. And that again would bring me back into my head is like, oh crap, I just said no. And, he wants to go, we could be playing ball right now. I love playing ball. Let's go do it. But the fact that I feel like people are going to look at me, they're going to judge me. I put myself in my head and it's like, oh, how do I do this? How should I do it?
Right.
And it never leaves. It really doesn't. So until you face it, until you actually allowed your emotions to be like, you know what? Like, you know what you're doing. You know what people are going to say about you. And you know what it is that you're feeling. What are you going to do about it? If someone actually looks at you funny, the little thing you can do is ask yourself, are they actually looking at me funny, or am I thinking that they're looking at me funny? and it's just like, wow, like, okay, let's go to the park and see what happens.
Yeah.
Now there's eyes on you. But purely they're just looking because we're playing ball and we're probably so good, right? I didn't know that. But yeah, I just allowed my emotions to play with me.
Right.
And then from then to now, if I was to actually express it, I would say I feel not emotionless, but I feel my emotions and I can see it from a distance. Because if you come up to me and we use the wet analogy, if you spat on me, it can get me wet. Or I can get angry, but instead of me getting angry at it, I can just look at it as, why'd you spit on me for? Is everything all right?
Yeah.
And that just open up, like a little dialogue where we can actually discuss. Maybe you could be going through something, and you never know, I could be going through something deeper than you. And the fact that we just spoke about it, we just release, that line from ever crossing again. And I don't know, man. I really don't know, but having to see your emotions play a part in how you live your life, like, you think of yourself, I'm so silly, man. How can I do that? How can I do that to myself? Like, why am I even like putting myself in situations where I know it's not even happening? Like, I'm creating these things to happen, but they're not even there. It's not real.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm just like having to come to realization. I would just say, the more emotions you have, the stronger you're getting, and the stronger you're getting, or I should say, the stronger you're becoming, the less likely you're going to actually notice it, but people will notice it for you.
Right.
I think Jasper mentioned this one. People are always watching. And I've heard this various of times too, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It is, man. And I read a message from Gerald because I sent him an emotional message, and he pretty much reminded me of why we have to continue what we're doing, because we never know who we're impacting. And sometimes it's those people who most likely we never thought would impact, right? And that's it. People are always watching us, whether we know it or don't realize it. There's always going to be eyes on us some way or somehow. Like the other day, I had a call with my cousin. We were just up like 4 a.m. And he just messaged me, "Hey, cuz, you up?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro. Like, let's have a chat." And he was just telling me, like, "Hey, man, I look at your quotes every day." And I was shook. I was like, "Man, I really appreciate that. Like, thank you for supporting us on this. Like, just having eyes on us. That means a lot." And whenever we get those things, it really means that the stuff we're doing, the effort we put in, it's not for nothing. Someone will hopefully find value out of it. We just have to keep consistent in what we're doing. Sometimes people won't say anything, but the moment we stop, like we've already stopped that engine to add value to people. So it's being we have to stay consistent. We have to stay confident in who we are and what we want to do and what we want to become. And we can't give up on ourselves, right? It's like what they always say, you got to plant those seeds. And you're not going to dig those seeds up in a certain amount of time to see if it's growing. You just have to let it grow. You got to keep watering it, letting sun. You just stay patient with it, right? And eventually those seeds will grow. So we have to have that patience.
And as they say, the apple don't fall far from the tree, right?
Exactly, bro.
But man, it's amazing what emotions can do to you.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
It can one wrong move, it can lead to destruction, and one good move, it can lead to a life that's amazing, right? But that's it. It's a gamble, and if we react based on emotions, who knows what the outcome is gonna be, right? But emotions are hard, bro. It's not easy. It's not easy.
It really isn't. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Oh man.
So what can we do to, I guess, help build that emotional resilience and find understanding with our emotions and learn to not allow them to become dictators and allow them to just be indicators for our life? What do you reckon?
Well, I wouldn't say I have a solution for it, but I have a suggestion. Maybe when you do wake up, you do have a choice of whether you want to feel happy or you want to be a little bit, sad.
Right.
And because the two difference that you have a choice, you can actually smoothen your day out by feeling good. So you get in a place where you don't like, would you stay there for too long?
Why would I?
So the fact that you wouldn't, and the fact that your emotions are leading you to that, how many more answers would you really like from people?
I don't know. It kind of depends, man. You got to outweigh a lot more than just liking it or not.
So I know that I like to eat donuts and I know the consequence of me eating donuts.
Yep.
So if I was to eat a donut every single day of my life,
you're making me hungry, bro.
Right? So that's an emotion playing a part there because I like it so much, but then there's also a consequence to it.
Yep.
I know I'm not going to continue doing that, right? I'm not going to make that turn that into a habit where it's going to be something I do every single day. So the fact that it's just an indicator, isn't it?
It is.
Emotions are indicators. They're not dictators.
Right. But I think it's, in terms of diet and food, that can be quite destructive in itself too.
Yes. Right? Oh, man. Yes.
So how can we find that, I guess, balance to being able to still have this thing that we want, but we know is bad for us, but yet still have the health that we want?
Okay, don't use it as a quick fix. Right? So if you're in an emotional state because maybe you just had a breakup, you should, resolve to food as I'm going to get better if I eat this. I'm going to get better if I eat that. Or let's say you come back from work and because you've been so stressed out from work, I'm going to resolve to food again. And let me eat this because I like it. Let me eat that because I like it. It makes me feel good. Right. So the feeling that you want out of it. But what if you turned it around the other way? It's like, okay, I'm not feeling as great today because, work put me in a stressful situation. Now you're at home. You're no longer at work. The fact that you're at home, you have a time to actually reflect on what happened at work. What is it that went to the point where you didn't like? What is it that led up to the point where it went so stressful that you couldn't actually manage it so well? The fact that now you're reflecting, you come up with your own solutions. And the fact that you never resorted to food straight away, you can actually look at it as, okay, this is what caused it. This is what I should do next time. And the fact that now you're hungry, you're no longer in that stressful situation where you have to run to food, to help you fix your problems. You can actually manage everything else properly again.
Right.
You can eat afterwards. You could eat, while you're reflecting, while you're reflecting as well. That shouldn't be like, okay, this is the feeling I want to have every time. Because if you're always reflecting, it's not good to overthink now, is it?
Right. So in this sense, I would say what you'd say for anyone is to kind of dig deeper as to why you're feeling a certain way, as opposed to having this band-aid outcome that will eventually fall off and probably end in regret, right? So I know, I know for a period of time when I was at my heaviest, 115 kilos, I was eating McDonald's every day. And I was like, oh, I see my calorie deficit. It's fine. No worries. But I was still getting big.
I can relate.
Yeah, right? I was still getting big. Legit, at work, I'd go sometimes tea break, McDonald's, lunch break, McDonald's, and I'll go home. Oh, look, I got like 2 Big Macs for $9. All right. You know, that's dinner right there. And then eventually I realized that wasn't doing anything for my health, even if it was in my calorie deficit. I was still getting fat. I wasn't losing weight. I was still, I mean, I'm probably got bulkier, but I didn't feel healthy. And eventually that's when I had to start making a decision. Do I want to keep on having this delicious Big Mac and juicy triple cheeseburger, or do I want to work on that body that I wish to have and be happier when I look in the mirror? And thankfully enough, I made that choice, but it wasn't easy. It was hard. Like I had to decrease the intake of McDonald's. I started doing it probably once or twice a week, probably 2 or 3 times a week as opposed to every day. And it got to a point where I'll have it once this week. I'll earn that right to have McDonald's. And eventually, because I didn't really crave it anymore, I said, okay, what can I eat alternatively that is cleaner, that I know is going to make me feel better? And that's when I went to steaks and vegetables and blah, blah, blah. But now I'm eating a lot cleaner. Like the food's not the best, like healthy foods. I'm sorry, man. I hate healthy food. Sucks, man.
Hey, man, you gotta eat your greens. You gotta eat your greens.
I know, but I want me a juicy St. Berg's burger, man. Like that it's so bad. It's so good though. Like the worst things taste so good, right?
I think that's the beauty of it. Temptation, man. Temptation. That's what it is. But now I try to earn that right to have it. So I'll probably have it on like a weekend. All right, you went through the whole week eating clean. All right, let's have the St. Berg's meal. Right. So it's we live in such a comfortable world that everything is so accessible. We don't earn the things that we want to have. Right. I guess that's where we're coming from. We want to have the quick fix to happiness, quick fix to feeling good. So, it's about trying to earn those things. That's right. And also, like, if you actually look at it properly, when you're happy, you're pretty much renewing your feelings, your emotions again. When you're sad, you actually renew that feeling.
Exactly.
Because every experience that lead to whatever emotions that you're at right now was a bundle of everything else up to now. If you're happy now, it was because you knew that, you like being in that state. And you know what it was like back then, you know what it's like now. Renewing them every time can actually put you in a position where you can say, I like this one better than that one. You like to be happy more than you like to be sad, because when you're sad, you can't do anything. You just feel miserable. You feel like you're staying in bed all day, right? But if you're happy, you know that you go outside for fresh air, you go outside for sunshine, you go out with a friend, you go out for coffee. And because you like these things, that's going to be your better, that's going to be the better preference that you'll actually choose every single day of your life. And it's just a renewal, isn't it?
It's a renewal, man. It's a renewal. That's what it is. Anyway, man, look, I don't want to take so much of your time because I know you're a father, right? You're going to take care of your family, So we'll let's wrap this up. 3 questions. What are you grateful for? What have you realized? And what's a question you want to ask yourself or to anyone, the listener or viewer?
I'm grateful for lessons. Lessons that are taught.
Yeah. For sure.
One question I'll ask myself. Why haven't I come to this realization earlier?
Ooh. Okay.
And my realization would just be, never let a moment dictate your next move.
Ooh,
I've got this quote, and
right. Let's go.
it's I'm not too sure if you're familiar with John Maxwell, which I believe you are.
Of course.
But yeah, so he's pretty much an influencer, not just an influencer, but a leader who's actually kind of not just impacted my life, but I know other people around me.
Of course.
This guy is kind of similar to him. His name is Dave Martin. And the quote kind of aligns with what we've been talking about tonight. And I hope you really find some value out of it.
Of course, man.
So he says your closest relationship is a reflection of your values. Oh, I don't want to elaborate on that because I think just you can do that yourself.
Let that idea wrestle, man.
That's right. And then just to add on to that, never let the things you want make you forget what you have. So that'll be my realization.
That was really good, man. Hey, bro, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for spending the time tonight. It was a really great discussion about emotional intelligence and just emotions in general. That was incredible, man. And I can't wait for this journey. I can't wait to see you speak in front of a lot of people and share your story one day. And
got a long way to go.
We all do, man. We all do. All right, bro. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a good day. Enjoy the time with your family and take care always, man. And hopefully you guys found value in this podcast. Always stay safe. Always take care and always get up.